first thing you're gonna do, once you have your differential removed from your machine, is go ahead and drain all the oil out of it, and then we're gonna remove the lid by removing all the hardware, securing it to the case of the machine. Then we're gonna go ahead and remove the lid. Sometimes they'll get stuck, so you just take a flat screwdriver, just kind of work it up underneath, just like that. We'll just go all the way around, then it'll come right off. Then just continue removing all of the components from the differential. Then what we're gonna do, so we don't lose all of our rollers out of our sprag, is just grab a hold of the sprag and all and pick it straight up. Set the ring gear down on the table just like that. Once we've done that, we're gonna go ahead and just take a rag and just sit it down in here so we don't lose a bunch of oil. So we do have some residual oil staying in the case here. We're gonna go ahead and knock the seal out for the pinion shaft. Just gonna take a small flathead screwdriver, just get right here on the lip and just tap it straight in. Once you get it in there, just go ahead and pry the seal straight out. Just like that. Maybe some oil down in there. And we're going to take a pair of snap ring pliers and go ahead and remove the snap ring securing the pinion shaft to the differential. And sometimes the pinion shaft will get stuck, so what you need to do is take a pry bar, stick it right down in here on the face of the gear, and then you'll just pry it straight out. Just like that. Now we're going to head on over to the press and press our bearing off of this gear and install it to our new gear. So we're going to go ahead and remove our snap ring and then press our bearing off. There's be a snap ring right here securing the bearing to the pinion shaft. Let's go ahead and remove that real quick. And we're just going to stick pinion shaft in here just like this, and then just press the shaft right through the bearing. And there's our bearing right there. And we'll take our stock shaft and set it aside. We're going to grab the new shaft that came in our ring and pinion gear set from SuperATV. We're just going to do the exact opposite. We're just going to flip it over just like that and then press the shaft through the bearing. You just want to press it down until it fully seats, and you'll be able to hear your press start to bind down a little bit. Once it does that, you know you're good. So we're going to take our snap ring, go ahead and reinstall it. Just like that. And you want to go around and make sure that it fully seats all the way around. A lot of times whenever you take a bearing off of another shaft and press it onto a different shaft, it'll get to a point to where it'll kind of bind up a little bit and the inner race may move just enough to the point where that snap ring won't fully seat. We're good enough here. If you do have that happen, what you need to do, instead of just pressing the shaft through the bearing, press right here. Have something on the bottom side that holds it right on this inner race, maybe a socket or something like that. That way it pushes that race down and gets it so it's centered again so your snap ring will go in. So now we're going to go ahead and install our new pinion shaft with our bearing back into the housing. I like to just stand it straight up just like this and look at it. A lot of times you can get this bearing centered and it'll just slide right down. If not, Sometimes they go crooked. What you want to do is just take your mallet, just work it all the way around until it all goes all the way in. You shouldn't have to hit it very hard. If you're sitting there having to beat down on it, you know, real hard, then you got something going on and you're gonna wanna reassess the situation there. But ours is fully seated. So while we're here, we'll go ahead and we'll take our big snap ring. We're just gonna go ahead and reinstall it the same exact way that it came out. So, like I was saying, this differential doesn't have a whole lot of miles on it, but however, you do want to make sure that your differential's super clean before you continue. You don't want any metal shavings or anything like that in there, so this is the time for you to go through, take your differential completely apart, which last thing would be in it is the hub, spray it all out, get it nice and clean, and you should be good to go. So, we have our old ring gear here. I'm just going to go ahead and set this aside. Just for demonstration purposes, we went ahead and removed all the rollers out of our sprag carrier today. And we're gonna go ahead and knock our roll pin out of this ring gear here. Just gonna flip it over just like that. We're gonna grab a punch that fits down in there perfectly. And we're just gonna take a steel hammer and just knock it straight out. Shouldn't take too much. See, it just fell right out of there. So as you can see on the OE ring gear, there's only one hole. On ours, we added two, just in case when you go to put it together, you can't get everything to line up properly. You can move your roll pin over to a different location. Make sure you get it good and started straight here. And we're just gonna take a punch. Just tap it down in there, about like that. You may have to adjust it, it just depends. One way you can check it is take your spring, your torsion spring here, go ahead and sit it down. Looks like we're gonna need to knock ours out just a little bit more. You don't want it too far up, but you don't want it too far down to where this spring will just jump right off. See right there, the spring is gonna hold on to that pretty tight. It's sitting pretty much flush with the top of this spring. So that's exactly what you want. You don't want it too high up and you don't want it too shallow so your spring doesn't jump off as you're putting it together. Obviously, once you put your torsion spring retainer on there, it can't go anywhere, but just makes the installation a little bit easier. So you want to make sure there's no shims, nothing like that. Again, make sure the differential's super clean. We're going to go ahead and take our new ring gear and slide it right down into place. Just wiggle it. Make sure it makes good contact with your pinion gear. Ours is good to go. So then this is the time, like I said, for demonstration purposes, we don't have any rollers on our sprag. Obviously, you're gonna wanna make sure all your rollers are in there, and if your sprag is damaged, you can pick one up from SuperATV.com. We have a variety of options for numerous differentials, heavy duties, standard duties, but we're gonna go ahead and slide our sprag in there, just like that. So put your sprag in there, and you're gonna take your torsion spring, and just how we were showing you a second ago, just loop the spring over there just like that, so it sits down. And we're gonna take our torsion spring retainer and make sure that this stud right here fits down perfectly in between the torsion springs. So we're gonna line it up and it'll just sit right down in there. I'm gonna have to wiggle it around a little bit. Sometimes your spring will jump off as you're doing that. Just gotta be careful if you're putting it in there. So now that we have that installed there, we're gonna grab our armature plate. Make sure that you line it up with the rollers to the torsion spring retainer plate. Then you would just grab your top hub, slide it into place. Then you take your lid, get it reinstalled. And you just want to make sure that your lid goes down and fully seats, just like that. Make sure that your hub is fitting through your outer seal good on both sides, which ours is. And then you'd have to get a new OE seal for the pinion shaft. You can get that from your local Polaris dealership. Like I said, this is just a demonstration, so we're not going to be putting the seal back in. But all you would do, just slide it right in, just like that. A lot of times, you can push them in by hand. And then I recommend taking a flat punch, you know, a pretty good size punch, and then just go around and just tap it all the way around until it goes all the way in and fully seats, making sure that it seals up on that pinion shaft. So once you've done all that, you'd reinstall all your screws, go through, make sure you get them to the factory torque spec for your differential. Some of these differentials will have Allen heads, some will actually have a hex head, 10 millimeter. So it all depends on what your differential is. You know, this is an XP 900 differential, but this ring gear will also work on various makes and models. So make sure that you look up your factory torque spec, get everything tightened, make sure everything's good, and then get it reinstalled in your machine. And there you have it. That's how super quick and easy it is to install SuperATV's ring and pinion gear set into your OE differential. For more information on our ring and pinion set or any of SuperATV's great products, feel free to give us a call at 855-743-3427 or check us out online at superatv.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.